Welcome to Knife Thoughts. This video is going to be on this EDC tool, and this is the Teale Designs Pen Tie Pry. So this is a titanium pry bar. It is in a form factor here in the kind of shape of a pen. So it's pretty slender and long as compared to some pry bars which are shorter and wider. And so it's kind of advertised as a breaching tool and also as something that you could, use in a more tactical situation. Now, I got this tool because I often find that your typical EDC pry bars are a little bit wide to get into spaces that I might need to pry in, and also a little bit short to have enough, leverage. And then the other nice thing about this is that you get a pretty good sized tool that is something you can or should be able to carry on a plane. So the TSA, at least, in the USA, I don't know all of, the world's plane travel rules, but in the USA, you can have a flathead tool, like a screwdriver that's under 7 inches in total length. And this is under 7 inches at 6 inches in total length. So, it's not sharp, it's under 6 inches, so you should be able to take this on a plane. Now, I have taken pry bars on planes. I haven't taken this specific one, but you see people doing it, and I don't really think that I would have any issue carrying this on a plane. I have taken normal screwdrivers on planes. So that's the other thing, is you can take this with you if you're traveling, and it's nice to have a tool that you can use when you're traveling. You can't take knives with you basically anywhere that involves plane travel, so it is nice to be able to carry this with you. Now, the other reason that I got this is because it has some features that I like, and it's similar to a pry bar that I already had, and I thought that it would work better for me than that pry bar. So that was the Nice Guy Machine Company Raw Dog average size. So this is a newer model from Nice Guy Machine Company. It's not quite as long. I think it's about 5 inches in length. It's a little wider also, and it has a little bit of a different style both of pry head there and clip. And so those are the two things that I didn't really love about this. So first of all, this clip, because it is integrally milled into the pry bar, you don't really have any tension, and I would find that this would just, slip off of the lip of my pocket and fall either down into my pocket or sometimes start to come out of my pocket. So I don't really like this style of clip for in a pocket. I think that this style of clip works great if it's something that you're dangling off of like a belt hook or a belt loop, but that's not what I would be using this for, so it didn't really work great for me. And then the problem that I had with the pry tip on this is that because it's the same width as the body, and actually I believe it flares outward somewhat, the whole thing flares from here, it's less wide than it is at the end. It would really jab, these corners would really jab into my thigh, basically, into whatever I was carrying it next to, whether it be my thigh or in my back pocket, whatever part of my body I was carrying it next to, these would jab into, especially because how this clip works, it's going to kind of point this end into your body. So I didn't really love that, and so this fixes both of those issues. Firstly, with the clip, you can see that this is a bent clip, and it has these standoffs here. I added this lanyard. It doesn't come with a lanyard, but I added this lanyard between the two standoffs, and so that makes for a good amount of space there, but then because it's a bent clip, you get a good amount of tension. I actually bent this back slightly to loosen the tension just a little bit, but it still has a good amount of tension, so you really don't have to worry about it coming out of your pocket inadvertently. And the other nice thing is that it is reversible, so you could reverse these if you wanted to have the clip on the other side. For me, this has worked great so far, but you could reverse it. And then as for the pry tip, firstly, it is already thinner just because the overall footprint is more slender. but it's also tapers towards the actual pry tip area from the width of the body, so it just doesn't stick into your leg as much, and I do really prefer that. The other thing here, if you compare, it's actually slightly, very, very slightly thinner at the actual very edge as compared to the Nice Guy Machine Company. And I do like that also. I think it makes it a little bit more useful for using it like a screwdriver. Now, these are very different tools, though, I will say. So the biggest difference to me is in the kind of design and machining. So the design of this is much more utilitarian, kind of industrial, I would say, whereas this is fancier. And this is a not fancy model as the Nice Guy Machine Company pry bars go. So this just has this milling here, whereas a lot of them have patterns and things like that. This has no pattern. It's just has the blasted finish, and even on the edges here, you can see it's got a pretty rough finish. So very much not a kind of fancy look to it. It just looks like something that you can use. Now, it is titanium, it's the same type materials, it's just that the finish gives it a quite different look. And then as for the design, these kind of really big jimping, I don't know if you would call this jimping, but it's something like that. These areas here that are milled out give it a good amount of grip, especially compared to this pry bar from Nice Guy Machine Company. It's very smooth. Even the finish, again, is different, but just the shape of it is a lot smoother. This you can get a really good grip on. And so, I like that. I think I do like the finish of this. And on this, I think the big thing that allows or makes it have less fancy of a finish is that it's less expensive. So this pry bar is $70, whereas this one was $100, and the other Nice Guy Machine Company pry bars are much more than that usually. So it makes sense that this has less fancy of a finish. As for actually using this, I find that it's pretty useful. I do think that it's more useful for me than your typical wider, shorter EDC pry bar. This can be used as a screwdriver for some things. Now, I would say I'd actually like this to taper even more, because you could get into some smaller screws, and it would also be better for hitting things or poking things or whatever, getting into those small spaces and such. Another thing, I love that it's long enough that you can hold it like this and have a good amount sticking out. I think that's a good thing, but being that it is 6 inches, this is not really going to fit in any EDC pouches. It is more of a pocket tool than an EDC pouch tool. I've recently kind of moved away from EDC pouches, so I don't mind it being a pocket tool, but it is one more thing that you're going to have in your pocket. I found that it does carry nicely, like right next to a pen or something like that, as long as you have deep pockets. So, not with your money. I mean, maybe you do need to have deep pockets if you're buying a $70 pry tool also, instead of just using a $5 screwdriver. But you do need to have relatively deep pockets, literally, for this to fit in. Like, it is a little bit long for some like casual style shorts or basketball shorts, things like that. I don't wear those a whole lot, certainly not like out and about. So for jeans and like khaki pockets, things like that, it is, has fit in all of mine. But, I'm on the bigger side of people. So just be aware it is relatively long. But overall, I really like it. I'm happy with it. I went back and forth on deciding whether or not I was going to buy this, and I decided to just go for it and give it a shot. I have been carrying and using it a good bit. I have used it to actually eat, which I know probably doesn't sound very civilized of me, but I didn't have a spoon or fork with me, and I needed to eat while I was on the road. So this worked. And the most recent use I had for this was getting some Play-Doh out of the Play-Doh little containers for my son. So it is useful, and I think especially as EDC pry bars go. I think EDC pry bars can be useful, but there's certainly an element of just enjoying it and having something interesting that you carry, and I think that there's that for this also. So if you are interested in this type of thing, you can get them on the website. It's Teale, Teale designs.com. I actually got this one from Etsy, so you can also get them from Etsy. But either way, let them know that you heard about it on Knife Thoughts. If you enjoy this type of video, make sure you subscribe to the channel, click the bell, and select all so you know when I post new videos. Check out my website, knifethoughts.com, where I post articles on tools like this, a lot of knife content also. And make sure you subscribe to the email newsletter there. And last but not least, as always, don't forget to go out and do good.